Therefore, go out and make disciples of the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This is a well-known verse all throughout the church. However, it is also well known by many missionaries. The reason this is an important fact is because I will be speaking today about missionaries. Now, I know this may sound silly to you considering you're a Christian and you probably know quite a bit about missionaries already, but this is an important part of my life and I would really love to make sure everyone knows some important information about it. Now, while I could probably speak for days on end about this subject, I would like to focus in on a few main points. First, what to expect if you're considering becoming a missionary. Secondly, just how important it is to adapt to the culture around you. And last but not least, what a missionary looks like in today's culture. Firstly, I would like to begin with what to expect if you consider becoming a missionary. Now, one of the main things that you should expect if you are thinking about becoming a missionary is fundraising. Now, what this means is raising money to live off of. You'll more than likely have to travel from church to church or possibly another Christian organization raising money. The reason it's important to travel from church to church is because it allows you to make a personal connection. This will ensure it will help you to build more relationships and continue on the funding. Now, one of the struggles about funding is that you're put in a pedestal basically. You're put in the spotlight and oftentimes the struggles that you go through people won't understand. In fact, during my research I found this quote by a man named Mike who worked for 10 years in North and West Africa. He said, "Church people want to put missionaries on a super spiritual pedestal for being willing to sacrifice and live under harsh conditions. This means that missionaries are basically under the microscope. One little mistake could end up ruining funding, and that just brings on more struggles, unfortunately." The final fact I would like to focus on with this point is that no matter who you are, you're eventually going to miss home. Some people will miss home immediately. They'll just miss going home once a week and seeing the people they care about. Some people may not start until the phone calls and the emails and anything else start to come less often. It's a sad and harsh reality of being a missionary, but the good news is that that's why God is there. He lifts you up during these times and He just holds you in His arms. So, though the realistic facts may not be easy to take, they are an important thing to consider if you're thinking about becoming a missionary. Secondly, I would like to speak with you all about how important it is for a missionary to adapt to the culture around them. This is such an imperative thing for me to mention because I've seen so many people not take this into consideration, and I've seen them just miss opportunities. It affects their ministry and it's so sad. Now, what I mean by adapting to the culture is accepting some of the customs and traditions that the people may have. For my family and I, this meant simply accepting having tea each time you went over to somebody's house and making sure that you offered it to a person when they visited your house. Now, while this may not be the kind of adapting you have to do, it'll probably be something like that may be a little hard at first. Another, last and final point I would like to make is that this is a biblical concept. In the Bible, Paul stated, "To the Jews I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law." By this, Paul was saying that he adapted to the culture around him. He became like a Jew to witness to the Jews. He then became like a Gentile to win them over. He did what it took to witness to those around him, and that's what's important. So, though someone may picture a missionary as being a Christian in Africa helping an orphanage, this is not the only example of what a missionary looks like. One example of what a missionary looks like is something that I've seen in my own life. And it is the typical image of somebody who packs up and moves overseas to plant a church somewhere or something like that. However, another example I have seen in my own life is simply someone who lives in the same town their whole life, but who goes out and they minister to those around them. They share God's love and just work to shine His light. This is an example of a missionary as well. I would like to conclude this subject by sharing a statement that I found from an article during my research. Many people picture a missionary as a middle-aged man who leaves his job in America to evangelize and to plant churches in Africa. But this is a simplistic view. Today, African Christians reach out to Muslims in the Middle East. College students spend their summer teaching English in Asia. A family in America befriends and witnesses to international students. A truck driver responds to an international disaster, meeting both physical and spiritual needs. All of these are missionaries. So, no matter what type of missionary you are, the important thing is that you love God with all of your heart. You love your mission field and you share the gospel. To conclude, though you probably knew some about what missionaries are, job is and what they are and what it means to be a missionary and all, I hope that you've learned just what type of people missionaries are and all. I hope that if anything you have learned what to expect if you decide to become a missionary. You've learned the importance of adapting to the culture around you, and finally you've learned what the definition of a missionary is. I know for me personally, being a missionary has been a huge part of my life. It's helped to shape who I am, and it's helped to shape what my future is going to be. I'm so proud to be able to say that God has done an amazing thing in my life. Thank you for letting me speak with you, and have a great week.